Welcome to the latest in our series of library side chats. And today we have some special guests from our TOK class, and they're going to be reflecting a little bit on learning spaces and how the design and the mediums for learning in those spaces can impact the culture of academic literacy. So you all joined us last week for we had some video segment viewing and then some discussion at the tables and then large group share out. And we were wondering what you all thought about the dry erase surface tables. How did you feel that helped or hindered in different ways the discussion portion of our learning activity?
Well, with a large group like our class had, I think it was really effective in letting us not be afraid to write down what we were thinking. And is also, like, when we had a prompt written on the table that we could reply to, there was multiple around the room. So if we weren't very confident about one prompt, we could, look what they said, kind of reflect on it, and maybe just think about it rather than forcing ourselves to write an opinion down on the table. And I thought that was really effective because if we were confident about another table and we really were into like what the prompt said and like had a thought-provoking answer or a question too, if we didn't really understand it, then our peers could come by and like help us better understand the question as well as reply to our opinions or our views on the matter that was written.
Those are great points, the ideas of choice. And being able to also have peer support if someone saw that maybe, you needed a little help in nudging your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
It was also a little bit more free than what we normally do because we usually do it as kind of it's like a system where there's a certain group assigned to each set of questions or whatever, and you have to move along each time and you have to stay at your station. But with the whiteboards, we got to, you could go to whichever one you wanted. So you could write something down on one table, go to a different table, and you could see something there that would give you an idea for the table you were just at, so you could go wherever you wanted if you had a different idea about what you wanted to do. And so I thought that was really helpful for me, and it helped me really get a lot of stuff on the table and a lot of new ideas that I wouldn't have considered if I had just stayed at one table at a time.
Yeah, it's also a lot more open than our normal discussions where, you have to wait to get called on or something like that. And often when that happens, you can kind of lose your train of thought. But with this, if you thought of something, you could just immediately write it down, which helped a lot.
That's really, really helpful to know. Thank you.
Which is also really effective when we opened it up to the big group discussions and like the teachers would kind of say, all right, like go to the table you like really had a thought-provoking answer to, and so we would go there, and I think it really helped to like, you'd see some people's comments and you'd be like, oh, I wonder what they meant by that, and you kind of question it a little bit. And I think with our class size, I think it was a very good class size, that we could come out and like the person who wrote it down, like if they weren't too shy, we could say like, we could ask them about what they thought and they would reply and give more in-depth answer to it. And also it helped us focus focus all of our thoughts into one sentence. I mean, that's what we struggle with is like we have so much to say, and I think with the whiteboards we kind of like condensed our thoughts to one sentence so that we could like put our thoughts in, but then when we were asked about it, we could go in depth on why we put that sentence and what we meant by what we said. And I think that the discussion afterwards helped a lot with that.
Just kind of cemented it for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love that you all mentioned the, I guess, free-flowing nature of it and that you're able to kind of wander about and have more control. You have more control over your degree of participation and engagement at each table, and that helped build to the bigger group discussion. One of the things that Ms. Lund and I have been working toward this last year, and that we think you'll see more next year, now that it looks like some grant monies are going to be coming in, is trying to make our space a little bit more flexible and open, and one that can be reconfigured quickly for activities like that, and so that we can repurpose the space pretty quickly to do a lot of different things within a chunk of time. And obviously we have enough physical square feet in here to do that. Given hopefully that we'll continue in that direction, do you think it would be helpful if perhaps, these kinds of classes maybe met in this space maybe a little more frequently for, just kinds of informal discussions or learning activities that might lend themselves to using, tools like the dry erase tables, or what do you think?
Because when you're in a classroom setting, there's you have to go through the whole classroom etiquette thing. You have to raise your hand. You have to, kind of sit tight and sit quiet. But when you're in kind of a big discussion and a big group setting, it gives you more of the opportunity to share and more of the opportunity to expand on other ideas, as opposed to going piece by piece in a certain lesson plan. But when you just have a big open discussion with maybe 1 or 2 prompts to just keep it going, then there's more ideas there and more creativity present during the discussion.
Which I also think is a really good balance for some people who are technology driven and understanding. They like to go online and have discussion questions and online discussions within their class, and that's not really my style. So it was good to have kind of a balance from having one where you do a worksheet and you fill out what does this tell you, rather than go online. And I think it was a really good balance for some people who are paper, I don't want to say it, non-technology kind of people versus technology kind of people. And I think it was a really good balance.
And that's an interesting point you bring up, that obviously this activity, there were a lot of different entry points, I guess, to participate to whatever extent people felt comfortable. And then talking about people's comfort zone, sometimes people feel more confident with, for lack of a better term, paper technologies, which certainly are a form of low-tech technology, whereas other people may feel more confident in an online type of forum or discussion. And then obviously sometimes, we can blend the two, one maybe as a follow-up, or one might be the idea ignite kind of space, and then bring it over to this. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good to know.
So I liked the environment of the media center.
Yeah.
It was open. It was just it was easy to have a discussion.
I like our meeting center.
Yeah, well, we like you all being in here. I know one of the things that I really enjoyed about the discussion was just getting to see you all interact and just kind of watching the organic nature of the conversations, both, at the beginning where we were in small groups, and sometimes that conversation was just the person, with the dry erase surface, and kind of interact, and then starting to interact with peers.
Yeah.
But then, when we moved to the large group discussion, I was a little sad when the bell rang and it was time to go, because it was just really fun, for us to hear you all articulate your ideas in such interesting ways. And we're glad that, we could support that with this. Do you feel like, when looking at, future purchases or thinking about, design drivers for the library as a learning space, do you think the purchase or acquisition of more writable surfaces, whether it might be a table or a wall, do you think that those would be a good investment? Or
Whiteboard wall would be so cool.
That's what I was maybe
Yeah.
a big one for a wall or something. That's what I was just thinking about.
Like-
It's because you don't have to how sometimes you have to
Yeah.
turn your head to see a certain table or walk
Mm-hmm.
around, which I thought was I liked the shape of the table actually, because it was easy to walk up to, and but I think the wall would be really effective to just kind of you could stand back and see everything. Maybe it's not just one prompt, but maybe 6 prompts.
Yeah.
kind of a bird's eye view?
And I know a lot of colleges offer whiteboard rooms that have the giant whiteboard walls, and that's where you can do timelines, or you can do stuff like that. And I've always looked at it and been that's what I'm looking forward to most about college, is the giant whiteboards.
Yeah.
I get so excited. I love it.
That's on our wish list for the more formal kind of studio cubby, which is
That would be awesome.
back there. We've looked at different dry erase surfaces, and even we've done a little bit of an experiment in our office with the glass writable surface. And we've visited some schools that have those tinted colors. So so we hope that will be something that you'll see next year.
I just think that would be really useful for not only just regular classes, but also for when it's test review time and you have to do everything all at once. That would be a really nice thing to have for
Just a
AP
place
test
to kind of
reviews.
bring it together. Okay. Well, you've given us some really good food for thought, in thinking about additional planning for next year and what might be good mediums for learning. And I know Miss Lund and I are thrilled with the response that we saw, just the activity we did with you, as well as some things that we've done with Mr. O'Connor's ninth grade classes. So we're looking forward to more opportunities to do that. And are there any other thoughts or reflections that you'd like to add before we close out?
Well, I'd just say, I think we all left here and we kind of went to lunch, and, since we all have lunch together, we sat down and we're like, that was really cool. We enjoyed, because it wasn't hard to interact. We were awake, we were into it. At first when we were watching the movie, we kind of were like, oh, we need a break for a little bit, because, sometimes watching a movie for some people is hard to, keep focused. I know that's me because I'm not technology driven, but I really liked having a change of scene and just having to walk around and you get to see other people. And we all went to lunch and we had loved the idea and we loved the discussion between other people and the class discussion as well.
That's
I
cool.
remember I was so excited for the next day.
Yeah, I was
That's
I hope
so
we come
awesome.
back here.
Yeah, and we were excited when y'all did. So that actually leads to another question that you just made me think about. So, if we were kind of now, dreaming and planning maybe on a grander scale, I know you mentioned a lot of the colleges, they either have dedicated buildings or in their libraries they have, the little rooms, and that's definitely a trend that we're starting to see in a lot of different libraries, not just the college, but even some public libraries now are doing that, and some schools are starting to incorporate that. And you mentioned that the conversation, kind of continued over into lunch. Yeah. If the library had those kinds of little sort of conference conversation rooms, maybe equipped with, the dry erase surface of some sort, would having the option to maybe come and reserve or schedule one during your lunch and be able to bring your lunch, would that be something that you would be interested in? Just maybe, because sometimes I know it's sort of kind of loud and crazy in there.
I know a ton of people, before they had the no food in this room, I know a ton of people who wanted to come in here and just work on stuff during lunch so they could focus. And I know with the program that we're in, and I know at other schools when they take APs, if they have multiple, it gets stressful and you kind of wish you had those 30 extra minutes before class to kind of, get yourself together, especially because we don't have a guided study. So I think having a discussion room to where you can talk about things, not just one class theory of knowledge, but also in any class,
your other
a
courses,
relaxing discussion talk.
Okay, well, it's definitely something that we'll put on the radar and see what options might be. All right, any other closing thoughts or suggestions or ideas for us? Okay, well, we really appreciate you being so generous with your time and your reflections. And like I said, we hope that, I know the end of the year is coming very quickly and all kinds of tests are sitting on the horizon. But Ms. London, I hope that we'll get to see you all again, maybe at least another time or two before the year closes.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us.
Well, thank you, and thank you for helping us to think more deeply about what it is that we do in here and how to do that better to meet your needs. All right, thank you.
Thank you.